What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about British stereotypes that might have some truth to them. I found this video. 5 British stereotypes that are probably true. Now, in America, for the most part, stereotypes are commonly agreed upon to be a bad thing. They overgeneralize. A lot of the time, they are just wrong. So a lot of the time, they're negative. But in the case of Britain and how Americans view British stereotypes, I'm happy to say that a lot of the stereotypes are either strange, they might be overgeneralized, but they're not too negative, to be honest. It's like British people are extremely proper and fancy, sarcastic, very polite. They like tea a lot. That's still up for debate to me. It seems like a lot of British people do actually genuinely like tea. I still don't understand all that, but I digress. This video here, I just thought would be actually quite helpful to me as an American, that we have stereotypes for all sorts of cultures around the world, and a lot of the stereotypes are probably not true. But here I have an opportunity to maybe learn about some British stereotypes that might be kind of true. I don't know. But I'm here to find out, so let's see. Let's take a look.
Some cultural cliches are there for a reason.
Leave this to me. I'm British. I know how to queue.
Welcome to Watch Mojo UK, and today
I know how to queue. I learned about queuing like not that long ago, very recently, that British people are good at queuing. I had to look up what queuing meant, to be honest, but yeah, there's another one. That's a good thing. Queuing. Good ability.
Before we begin, we publish about our latest videos. For this list, we're assessing popular and possibly overused British stereotypes that, nevertheless, are usually completely true, as much as we try to deny it.
Okay.
So, let's get started and see.
Okay, I like that these are addressing the popular British stereotypes, because that's almost definitely the ones that Americans firmly believe in and have heard, and yeah, we might think that they're tropes or exaggerations, and I just want to know which ones kind of might be sort of true.
See if you're guilty of any of these. Number 5, foreign languages.
Mongelese Touzefan.
What does that mean?
It means why put bay windows on a shithouse?
English is one of the most commonly spoken languages in the world, and that makes it pretty easy for us to use it in all sorts of situations without really appreciating how awkward it is to learn for anyone else.
Leicester Square?
Leicester Square? What, do you mean Leicester Square?
Yet, lots of other countries do strive to speak at least a little English, but we Brits aren't always as enthused about learning new languages.
Huh. This is an interesting one to start on. You know, as an American point of view, we are English speakers as well. So this is not something I've ever personally thought about. I suppose it's a good thing to think about. Maybe this would apply to America as well, right? So what is the stereotype, though? A lack of concern for the difficulty of learning English language for other nations? Is that a stereotype?
So whenever we head to foreign shores, we're often outrageously unprepared for even the most basic of conversations.
Apparently, in their country, this means something quite rude. So we had to get out of the restaurant pretty sharpish.
Is the stereotype that English speakers... This stereotype applies to Americans, then, if this is just about English-speaking countries. Is it that English-speaking countries don't put any effort into learning other languages? Because we just assume everyone will know English, and we get annoyed when they don't know English? Like we feel entitled to it? Is that the stereotype? I could kind of see that.
Brits abroad stereotype isn't always fair, but there can be a tendency to slowly shout disjointed but otherwise unchanged English at any non-English speaker.
Okay.
FYI, it's not helping anyone.
Okay.
Number 4, rampant sarcasm.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, finally. This is one I'm familiar with. Kind of related to British humor, right? the rampant sarcasm. I like sarcasm, so I like this one. I hope it's true. I hope all British people are extraordinarily sarcastic all the time.
I see the past, the present, and the future.
Tough gig.
Stop being sarcastic.
The Brits are known for their quick wit, wisecracks, and just generally being a bloody funny bunch.
Yeah.
And if there's one thing we're especially associated with, it is sarcasm. Glorious, relentless sarcasm.
I think sarcasm is like one of the wonders of life. It's like it's a way of poking fun at the absurdity of life itself. I didn't mean to get too philosophical in this video here, but sarcasm, it's funny. Like, what is this life without humor? Honestly.
A little more. Would you prefer to drink it straight from the bottle?
It's arguably not only a trait of British people, but you'll definitely hear it coming from us more than most. In fact, visitors to the UK often seem to suspect it in every other sentence we say. It's probably closely linked to the stiff upper lip stereotype, with sarcasm enabling us to make light of a bad situation, turning trying times into something to smile about.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, right? Like making light of a terrible situation. That's what sarcasm is useful for, or sort of dark humor, or whatever you want to call it. It's just a way, maybe it's unhealthy, maybe it's a coping mechanism, but I don't care. It's a way of like turning bad situations and finding like humor in it, which can be helpful, can be good, or it can be bad, depending. Yeah, this is a good, if this is a stereotype, I'd call this a positive one, I think, being associated with this.
That doesn't make it any easier to detect, though.
Maybe if everyone who'd ever been close to you had died, you'd be sarcastic too.
Yes, that makes sense.
Number 3, pub pride.
Go to the Winchester, have a nice cold pint, and wait for all this to blow over.
You might think that British people drink a lot, though that's not necessarily true.
Yeah, because Americans, when we hear, like, in popular culture, movies and stuff, if there's British people, they're gonna always mention the pub. I don't know if that's just the writing. Maybe it's because it's a stereotype, right? That British people are obsessed with pubs. I actually agree with this one, because I feel like I shouldn't hear about pubs nearly as much as I do, being in America. But I do, because every single time there's a British character in a show or something, they bring up a pub and drinking. So I am actually super glad that they brought up this one. Although, since it's in this video, they're saying that it's kind of true.
But what probably is true is that we really like hanging out in pubs. And who can blame us? Because you'll never truly understand the ups, downs, and day-to-day delights of community spirit until you've stopped in at a proper local public house.
Right, you know, I learned about pubs a little bit more recently, and I have to remember, they're not like bars in America. They're like, you could bring your kid to a pub, maybe? I still don't believe it. Like, you could go with your family, friends, you don't have to drink at the pub, you could just hang out. Like, the atmosphere is very, like, homely and friendly and leisurely, and it's much different than a bar. So, yeah, it's totally different even than especially what I used to think of it.
One where you know the landlord, you've got your own favourite table, you can watch a game, meet your friends, and generally chew the fat with other regulars.
Yeah.
These places become a home from home, and everyone has their favourite, from the Dog and Duck to the ever-reliable Red Lion.
Mind a lager, please, Mary.
Right you are, my love.
Number 2, polite conversation.
I do enjoy these chats in the morning.
Not only do we Brits seem to value politeness and manners above most things, and sorry, but we do have a habit of apologising for everything.
This is a good one. Politeness and manners. That is definitely American stereotype of British people, that they are extraordinarily proper, polite. Yeah, that's like almost cartoonishly so, especially with some of the stuff that is in American media growing up. It's definitely a stereotype.
But we're also all out pros at polite conversation. We don't always want to make small talk with strangers at the bus stop, but sometimes it's inevitable, and eventually it gets awkward.
I'm British and charming, and she's got certain angles that work for her.
Really?
But once tried and tested topics like the weather and the various pitfalls of our public transport services run dry, we're often too concerned about coming across as rude to end it there and walk away.
Right. Very concerned with not being rude, but this can lead to, like, I've heard this can lead to passive-aggressive behavior from British people because you have to come up with ways to tell people that you're annoyed at them while also coming across as polite. So you're masters of passive-aggressiveness, which keeps up the politeness factor, while also coming up with very creative ways to be rude or something, only if you need to be. Only if you have to be, if they deserve it.
So we wind up talking and talking and talking.
I'm fine. How are you?
Fine.
Number 1.
Oh gosh, so the politeness can lead to not being able to end a conversation. Because you're trying to be polite. You don't want to be the one to, okay. Yeah, that could be a problem as well. Being too polite, that's a good problem to have. Very good. We could use a lot more of that in America, for sure. That's a positive stereotype. I'm glad that that's true. Overly polite. Good. And here's number 1. Class obsession. Really?
Class obsession.
I am a highly desirable private residence in an area of outstanding natural property values.
From rags to riches to the manor born, Britain is tightly bound together by at least one thing. It's obsessed with its class system. So much so that there are reportedly 7 separate so-called classes across the UK now.
You know, I gotta say, coming from my American point of view, this is not something that I personally associate with Britain or British people, like being obsessed with class systems or classism. Truly, this is not something I've ever thought about. I'm not sure where this stereotype comes from. I mean, anybody I've talked to my entire life, I can't say this is brought up, honestly. I wonder where this comes from. Is this truly a stereotype?
Who knew? Well, we did, obviously.
Your accent just came out! Eh? His accent just came out, you all heard it!
It said that you're...
You can, like, assume somebody's class by their accent. That's funny, okay.
Cultural interests can affect which class you're in, including your weekly shopping habits, favourite supermarkets, and leisure choices. Class seems an everyday and unavoidable aspect of British society, which isn't always the best thing for us. But it does make for great comedy routines, diverse music, and creative, unpredictable film and TV.
This almost seems like something British people are more aware of, or more, like, concerned about. Well, honestly, I'm not too familiar with this. Let me look it up. Let me see if I can find something on this. Class system, Britain? Okay, it comes up. Social class in the UK. Okay, let's zoom in on this. Social structure in the UK has historically been highly influenced by the concept of social class, which continues in British society today. Okay, do these classes have a name? Like, sure, in America you have, like, lower class, middle class, upper class, then super rich people, people in poverty, but I feel like, it's not quite the same. I mean, the narrator said there were 7 different classes. This isn't necessarily a topic of discussion in America, like this specifically, talking about class. Poverty is a discussion. Like, wealth inequality is a discussion, but class? Oh, do they have names? Let me scroll down to... Oh, here we go. Elite, established middle class, technical middle class, new affluent workers, traditional working class, emergent service sector, precariat, immigrants. And there's, what, about eight classes here, according to this little list. Is that right? Wait, no, here we go. We have underclass, working class, middle class, upper class. Okay. No, that makes it seem like that's kind of what we refer to things in America. Okay, UK social stereotypes. Chav or Charver. Essex man. Hooray Henry. Plebs, Raw, Sloane Ranger, Toff, White Van Man. Never heard of any of this. Wow. I mean, this could be its own video or something. The UK social class system, stereotypes. This is apparently a thing. It has its own Wikipedia entry. That obviously means it's legit, right? Okay, interesting.
So, there is something for everyone.
Oh, I haven't got time to sit here talking nonsense with you in this bugger house. I'm off.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from Watch Mojo UK and subscribe for...
Okay, that's it. That's the list. Man, that really got me off on a tangent at the end. Wow. But for the most part, I understood this whole video, except maybe at the very end. 4 out of 5 of these are certainly things that are American stereotypes. Well, actually, what was the first one again? I feel like the first one... Let me see here. Come on. Show me the first one.
Completely true.
Where are you? Where are you? Foreign languages. Oh, yeah, foreign languages. That was the one that I was saying kind of applied to America, thinking that everyone else in the world should revolve around knowing English, and it's an inconvenience to us if they don't. Okay, this list made me really think much deeper than I ever thought would happen, but I like that. I don't mind that at all. Very interesting. 5 British stereotypes that are probably true. Okay, I understood 3 of these I think I was aware of. The number 5, foreign languages, I agree with, and it is apparently possibly a stereotype of Americans as well. It is. I would agree with that. And number 1, the class system, I have never really thought too much about that. Don't hear too much about that in America. But I could see that being a stereotype. I don't know what other countries think that about Britain, but when I look it up, it has lots of results that talk about it, so apparently that's a thing. That's just interesting to me. Learned something. Anyway, pretty good. If you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed this reaction, feel free to give it a like or leave a comment. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to British culture, stuff in Britain, about Britain that I have never heard or learned before, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.